Hello and welcome to your Wednesday evening weirding session. I'm your host, C. Savory, creator of Fractal Praxis. I want to pose a question that might strike poignantly at a fear embedded deep within you and mostly unconscious. So, brace yourself. Are we enough? Are we, humankind, enough to overcome the very catastrophes we've set in motion? Do we have what it takes to actually navigate and overcome our compounding crises? Or will our legacy in 100 or 10,000 years be a dismal, embarrassing one, defined more so by ignorance than by intelligence, more so by what we failed to attend to with our attention than the proliferating technologies and innovations that we enrapture ourselves with today? If we fail to attend to the context of our environment and the continuum of life that we are an indelible part of, then we will fail ourselves and doom ourselves. Maybe not in this little lifetime, but we will render all our descendants moot, which is perhaps a fate worse than death, total meaninglessness. To render an unlivable future is to render our own lives pointless. And this is the tragic fate we seem headed towards. So, are we enough to change our fate? Do we have, or can we find, what it would take? Is there something within being human, within our humanness, that could possibly redeem us from this yawning abyss we now seem to be accelerating into? Controversially, I argue, yes. There is something special within being alive that can be reclaimed for its redemptive properties. There is something within being human that provides a seed for reclaiming our place and role in life as a whole. But it's just a seed, and it would need to be cultivated. And in our self-absorbed, noisy complexity of the modern day, it is almost entirely obscured. The arrogant cynicism of giving up on our own messes. Climate change is just feedback, and the earth is giving us feedback about how we are living and whether or not the way we are living is suitable for inhabiting life on earth. Speaking from the position of being a modern, American, materially comfortable human, we enjoy lives of relative material abundance, yet profound spiritual loss and meaning hollowing out. Let's not discount the ways our material comfort distorts our perception, actually. We seem to not be dependent on our environments for our existence. We find many inconvenient truths in the compounding damages of climate change underway. We know, at least in theory, that we must reckon with it for a livable future. And yet the status quo has held pretty well intact over the last 50 years. Recently, David Suzuki commented on this, indicating that the fight is, quote, over for climate change mitigation because of the evident inertia of these systems at scale. For various reasons, as a society, we failed to adequately make sense of and respond to this collective crisis that dooms our kin, as if the future didn't matter, which only reveals a deep rot at the center of our so-called culture, indeed. If your inner world is constantly afflicted by a sense of severe disaffectation, disorientation, grief, horror, confusion, then you are sharing an experience that most modern humans deal with today. This is a common chronic condition of people who lack a culture that situates them in nature, like indigenous cultures do. Indeed, the cultural imprinting of a colonialist, imperialist, capitalist logic is utterly rooted in estrangement and exploitation. Of course, it applies to circumstances of dominance among humans, clearly. But of course, it cannot deliver us from the problems that paradigm creates. It cannot and does not hold answers for how we might transcend our cycling, warring circumstance, how we might care for the whole, nor does it provide a cosmological narrative that contains any beauty or insight beyond the paradigm of domination. We're stuck. Perhaps because we've been conditioned to become a very self-centered people. Or perhaps the people would have changed the game towards something more wise and compassionate and holistic in regard to climate change adaptation. But the people did not possess the power. The elite, who benefit the most from things staying the same, controlled the game. And we, so comfortable in our material wealth and relative ignorance, went along with it. Dazed into detachment by the apparent plenty and the many affordances we enjoy while exploiting Earth and other people. We forgot we needed to cultivate and wield alternative power so as to meaningfully build pathways to different worlds in which to live. When the tsunami was on its way, we went to bed and fell asleep. Shame on us. I mean, I understand the pressures generated by the cognitive dissonances involved here. I understand the individual and culture-wide temptation to install blinders on one's perception and maintain a shallow, self-serving focus in life. But that means, in effect, no one is attending to the whole. Despite our penetrating interreliance that is tangibly planet-wide now, no one seems to want to attend to the whole. We are in denial of our globalized modern reality if we think only local scale action is relevant. And we are in denial if we think we can abdicate our responsibilities to one another and our environments while reaping all the material abundance. We might think someone else will pay that price, that the facing of consequences will be displaced for us by a few hundred years. And yet, if we are telling an accurately broad story of self, then it becomes clear We pay those prices. There is no away. What we sow, we will reap, no matter the form takes. From what I'm saying, it might seem like I'm leading to the conclusion that we can't be the solution and we are not enough. We will doom ourselves and all our potential through the plague of ignorance, period. Indeed, many philosophers might find such a position increasingly defensible and reasonable. But I'm not just a philosopher. I'm a dreamer, an imagination worker, and a midwife between the world and worlds that are possible. So I have somewhere else to go from here. Trust me, I know it's a long journey back to nature for us modern folks, one requiring us to give up a lot. And it's a ton of work to develop the ways of seeing and being that enable belonging to nature for folks raised within cultures like mine growing up. However, it's not impossible. Indeed, it's our birthright, a journey of reclamation. Having undertaken this work myself for decades now, I believe one of the crucial advantages that it's given me is the ability to look out on the horrors of this world today and have it make sense. Have it not appear like a bunch of noise, but signal. And to possess a firm purpose from and for my existence. These differentiate my experience from most people's experience, and these are like anchors in a world gone mad and tools to sculpt my interactions for the greater benefit. My worldview, having developed it rigorously, has become resilient enough to accommodate even this complexity and still see through it to its root patterns. I've found the subtle reality of what it takes through my diligent seeking. I've earned my way to a destination of the enoughness that I speak of in my opening inquiry. And through fractal praxis, I'm attempting to invite you into that. So I will boldly pose this question. What if there was nothing wrong with the world? What if all of this mess made sense in the sense that it is following an intrinsic logic that can be understood? What if we are, in reality, fundamentally as much a part of the solution as the problem? What if the only thing we might say is wrong with the world is our perspective on it, our interpretation of it, and therefore our conduct in it? And that to evolve the right perspective would enable us to meet and mitigate the harms of this moment. What if we are enough under the right conditions? So what is this something special within us that could be leveraged for crafting a truly liberated and enlightened future, one with prosperity for all beings? What is that secret ingredient that could render the mass mess we are in intelligible and remediable? It is a process and a premise, learning, meaning-making, sense-making. Engaging in this process is key to liberating ourselves from the affliction of ignorance and its many consequences. It gives us the way, an actual pathway, to emerging from a destitute, detached condition and into increasingly better, wholer conditions. To practice meaning making is to bring about higher order structures, that is to say, more elegant and productive ways of seeing and being, more adaptive cultures and selves. This is not just a poetic claim, it's an existential one, and with huge implications. To exemplify life's praxis, that is, to become what life really is not about existing as a standalone, unchanging entity. Not even close. To exemplify life's praxis is to leverage one's being as a dynamic process within the process of adaptation. What the world needs now is for us to embrace a process of adaptation, taking in the truth, digesting it, and transforming our condition. Consider this: all beings at all times are unified through their immersion in a process of learning for the sake of adaptation. Furthermore, all beings across all time exist because of and in relation with each other. This 3+ billion year continuum of life's evolution on planet Earth is a shared story of mutual co-evolution in which we shape one another and we exist because of one another. This means we have the whole world as our allies and mentors and collaborators in this quest to achieve adaptivity. If we learned to partner with them in this crisis, if we could see ourselves as part of a fabric of life, we'd recognize the need to defend all life and agency, and the conditions for life and agency to prosper in general. If we located our identities within this broader phenomenon of life, we might see that we are in a crisis of surviving and adapting system-wide. And unless we address this, all of our other lower order individual efforts shall be rendered truly meaningless. The buried seed of the truth in which we do have what it takes and we are enough to respond to this crisis, that seed lies in our willingness to embrace the truth and adapt to it. Mind-bogglingly, this is the charge of all life forms in reality. And so when we embrace this path, we embrace our unity with life and enable ourselves to harness the force and the intelligence shared collectively among all life, past and present too. This is a path out of dissociation and into reassociation for our salvation. It's not going to take some transhumanist ascension fantasy. It's not going to take some eco-fascist regressive dystopia to purify ourselves. And it's definitely not going to be achieved by apathy. Our redemption arises from our willingness to engage, to be in life as a process, to re-enter the dialogue, to meaning make, and to act in accordance with what's meaningful. This liberates our truest selves fractally across all scales. I believe we are enough intrinsically, and that no matter how horrible or messy, we can integrate this shit. But not if we don't redeem these potentials. Not if we forget our true natures. Not if we stay asleep in shallow identities and comfortable myths. Not if we wait until it's too late to change. Not if we forget our humanity. Fractally. So, what will you do to become more enough for yourself and for all of us soon? With love, from Fractal Praxis.